Hello everyone, welcome to another video. Now in today's video we're going to be having a look at this H Pattern Shifter by BDH Race Sim Hardware. Now BDH have sent me this to test and have a look at, but as always they don't have any influence at all in what I say in this video and they don't see it before it's published. And as always I'll say that I'm not a reviewer of products. That's not what I do, that's not what this is. But what I am though is a sim racer exactly the same as you, and that's the opinion you're going to get, that of a sim racer. So before we talk about the shifter, I'll just explain who BDH Race Sim Hardware are. So it's Billy and Dave. I spoke to Dave at length on the telephone, and it's obvious that he's very passionate about what he does. He's a petrol head, car guy, motorsport guy, and he wanted to make a H pattern shifter which was as realistic as you could possibly get it for your simulator. And spoiler alert, well, I think it is. So the shifter itself is made of billet aluminium, as you can see. There are some steel parts inside and is a hefty bit of kit. This isn't a toy. So it's 7-speed forward gears, or 7 forward gears and 1 reverse. So when I'm looking at a product, I'm looking at it as if I'm going to buy it. So there are 4 things that I'm interested in. Firstly, how does it look? If something doesn't look right, well, you're not going to buy it. Secondly, what's the build quality like? Thirdly, how does it perform? And lastly, is it worth the money? So firstly, let's talk about how it looks. This is the only color that it comes in. It's polished aluminium or brushed aluminium finish. And I think it looks absolutely incredible. It's got that industrial look about it, which I've said before, I like. I like the industrial look, pedals, shifters, handbrakes. I do like that look, and it matches my aluminium profile rig quite well. So I think it looks incredible. From whatever angle you look at, it just looks beautiful in my opinion. And when it's bolted onto the rig, I think it looks insane. So from my point of view, I really like the look of the shifter. Now, secondly, let's talk about build quality. These are all handmade in the UK. So it's not a production line where they're firing these off every few minutes. These take time to assemble, and they're all assembled by hand in the UK. And that goes to show when you look at the build quality. I can't find anything wrong with it. Yes, there are some marks here and there on the aluminium itself, but that's how it's finished. That's how it is. They do get marks. That's just from the machining process. For me, that's fine. It's not like it's anodized or painted. This is how it's supposed to look. And a few marks here and there, it's not going to matter, because over time, when you're using it, that's going to happen anyway. So for me, build quality is excellent. Everything is tight, tidy. There's no issues at all with build quality as far as I can see. On to how it performs now. Now, essentially, this is a button box. You know, it's got 7 forward gears and 1 reverse. So essentially, you've got 8 buttons. And it does exactly the same as what your Logitech shifter would do, or your Thrustmaster, or your Fanatec shifter. It does pretty much the same thing. However, it feels completely different. The feeling that I get when using the shifter in the rig, it's off the scale. I am 100% completely immersed in what I'm doing, and that's what we do it for. It's for the immersion. When I'm in my rig, I want to feel like I'm driving a real car. That's why we do it, it's to try and simulate driving a real car. And that's how this feels. I've never ever used a shifter on my rig that feels like this, ever. It's got a real mechanical feel to the shifter. You know, when you change gear, it feels like you're moving a linkage into a gearbox. It's got a real positive clunk, as if, you know, just how it feels when you shift with a manual transmission. That's how this feels. It feels like I'm shifting a real car. And I've never had that before with any other shifter that I've had. Yes, you're changing gear with your Thrustmaster shifter, and you're going through the motions and it feels kind of realistic. But this takes it onto a completely another level entirely. It's absolutely insane. You might have seen me do some videos recently where I drove the Audi 90 in iRacing and the Lotus 79. Both of those have H pattern shifters, and I have never ever had so much fun driving those cars ever. The Lotus 79 in particular, when using this shifter, it was amazing. So whilst we're talking about how it performs, I want to talk briefly about this adjuster on here, which I think is incredible. And this adjusts how much tension is on the gear lever. So by undoing the lock nut, you can wind that out with your fingers, and then that makes the throw as light as you want. You can actually move it with your fingertips. But by turning the screw back in, well, that's when you get your positive gearbox clunks. That's when you get your real positive feel. And there's almost infinite adjustment there. You can just adjust it to your heart's content to get it in that sweet spot, exactly where you want it. And then all you do is you tighten the lock nut, and that's it in place, and it won't move. So before we go on to price, I just want to mention it's one USB cable. There's no software. You plug it in, Windows recognizes it as a USB game controller, so you don't have to mess around with any software. And mounting, well, there's 4 holes on the back which perfectly line up with the aluminium profile rig. So finally, let's talk about price. Now, as you can imagine, this isn't cheap, but I've said it once and I'll say it again, nice things don't come cheap. If you want good stuff, if you want nice equipment, nice clothes, whatever, well, you've got to spend the money. This is no different. So for this shifter, it's £850 plus VAT. A lot of money. So as I mentioned before, this isn't some shifter that's fired off a production line every 2 minutes. This is handmade here in the UK, and that's what you're paying for. You're paying for a product that's handmade, that's designed by somebody really passionate, a time-served engineer. But it's still a lot of money, and it's all about how immersed you want to be in what you're doing. When I'm driving in my rig, well, I want to feel like I'm driving in a real car. That's why I do it. Yes, I could turn the force feedback down, I could have a different shifter, I could have lighter pedals, and the experience would be probably a bit easier, but I like it to feel real. I like to be immersed in what I'm doing. That's why I have a heavy pedal set. That's why I run quite high force feedback. And that's why I like this shifter. It makes you feel in the moment that you're driving a real car. And whether it's worth the money depends on what kind of sim racer you are. Do you want that level of immersion? Do you want to feel like you're driving a real car? Well, it turns out I am that kind of sim racer. So I've bought one. I've actually bought this one. I didn't want to send it back. So I've spent my own money and bought this shifter. That's how much I like it. And sim racing is my hobby. That's what I do. I used to do motocross. I used to do supermoto. I used to play golf. I don't do that now. Sim racing is what I do. I absolutely love it. So I don't mind spending any spare cash that I've got on some equipment which is going to enhance my experience. So let's quickly run through what we've gone over. So looks wise, I think it looks perfect. I really like that industrial look. No dramas. Secondly, build quality, perfect. Thirdly, the driving experience, well, it's on another level entirely. Incredible, like incredible. And lastly, is it value for money? Well, that's subjective, and that's all about what you want to get out of your sim racing experience. And for me, personally, yes, it's worth the money. You want nice things, you've got to pay up. So before we end the video, I just want to play a short video where I did a lap around Brands Hatch, and I moved the microphone close to the shifter so you can see how it sounds when you're actually changing gear. Hopefully it comes across in the video somewhere as to how it actually feels, but I'll play that video now. So I want to say a massive thank you, kind of, to BDH for sending me this shifter to test and have a look at, although it's cost me a lot of money, but it's only money. You can't put a price on happiness, can you? Thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you want to check out the shifter, I will leave a link down below in the description. Really, really nice guys. Very passionate about what they do. I wouldn't hesitate recommending this shifter to anybody at all. As always, thanks for watching. See you later. Cheers.